the recent proclamations in Israel and in the Orthodox communities, for example, in New York, in the United States, that the Messiah has come. Now, what does this mean, and how do we analyze this, and what does it mean for us, and what does it mean for them? He's united many factions of the different groups, like the different ulama or the different rabbis, the differences they have. About 11% of the Israeli community follows him. Now let's continue, inshallah, from here. So this young man that's talking to this old man. So you can see the type of crowd he has with him. He's obviously very charismatic for the people that are around him. We'll come to the miracles that he's performed. He's apparently performed 5 miracles.
So a quick overview on this guy is that he grew up as a Jewish person, obviously, but became extremely proficient in the Torah and the Talmud and all these different Jewish texts, which in itself is a supernatural sign and wonder, really, because it's said by the age of 15 that he was already proficient in the Talmud, which is like hundreds of books. So for like any human being to ever be proficient in that is shocking. They say that this guy's level of understanding in the Torah and the Talmud is only seen in like rarely in throughout generations. So that's what gives him the title the Yanuka, somebody who is just proficient, profoundly proficient in the Torah and the Talmud and all the Jewish laws and texts and beliefs that they have. And through his understanding, he's gaining a lot of prominence in Israel. Many of the high-level Jewish rabbis and Jewish people are just in awe and going to him for their wisdom and knowledge. This just reminds me of his understanding of the Torah, and all this just reminds me of the reference of Jesus in the Bible and how there was multiple times when Jesus would be teaching and these people were saying, how does this guy know these things? He isn't even like a scholar. Just an interesting characteristic there. An interesting quote on this YouTube channel about him, the Yanuka Rav Shlomo Yehuda. I believe it's ran by just somebody else who's just in awe of this guy, has a quote from a Jewish person in the video talking about him, and this is just the mindset that they're viewing him as. It says, he is a unique and special soul that has descended into the world to illuminate the world. Extremely interesting wordage. There's another very...
Remember this word, descended down. Okay? Descended down. Remember this word.
Shocking quote here from the person who made this video about him. Then I'll get into the miracles that he's actually performed. First, they reference a verse from the book of Job that says, you will decree and it will be fulfilled. That's Job 22:28. And then the person who made the video, listen to the quote they say about him. Many have experienced salvation through his blessing and in the power of his Torah and witnessed miracles transcending the forces of nature. Now that's like so much sounds like he's talking about God, but that's actually what he's referencing to this Yanuka. So now I'll get into these miracles that he's performed, but first I need to point out something that needs to be referenced, that all of these miracles, and I'll leave the videos in the description where you can see what these people's wordage of the miracles are, word for word from their own mouth. Every single one of these people who talk about the miracle that happened to them, not a single one mentioned God. I believe in miracles and I believe God heals and does things, but every single person who I know who has been healed or touched by God always references Jesus or God, or this person prayed for me and God healed me and God touched me. Not a single person in these videos says that. All the glory is going to this Yanuka. So this first one is a video that says, in one moment I was walking again, an incredible miracle with the Yanuka. This guy was sick. He was in a wheelchair. He was getting these transfusions. It was making him extremely sick. And the Yanuka, he went to him. The guy came down the stairs and came to him, and then now here he is, completely fine, not having to go to the doctor or anything else anymore. And the miracles that are attributed to the Yanuka is one guy met with the Yanuka. The Yanuka said that he would meet his soulmate that day, and that very day he met the person who he married. There's another guy who had malignant tumors, and the tumors disappeared after having a conversation, and the Yanuka just said that they would be gone, and they were gone. Another guy was released from prison before the Sabbath, and his wordage for this was that it was not of this world, altering the laws of nature. It happened just as the Rav said. And there was one more guy in this video who referenced that he was about to go into surgery. He had to go. It was the day before surgery that he was going in. He met with the Yanuka, and then Yanuka said he'd be healed, and he was healed. So pretty shocking to hear. And again, I just have to point out that not a single reference to God was working through him. God healed me through him. Not a single ounce of the glory for these miracles was given to God.
You're getting the idea. Very popular, people making very extraordinary claims. And I have a lot to say about this. Number one, a lot of people are going to claim a lot of things in the coming times. A lot of people who are working with the jinn, a lot of people that are working with the jinn, they're going to be able to perform miracles. This is going to happen. When magic and technology, the way it comes together, they're going to be able to perform and do a lot of things. But before I give you my analysis, let's watch this one other video. Look at the world that has come for this young man who's considered the Messiah now in Israel. So what's the lesson for us? Number one, the main lesson here is it's not important if he's Dajjal or not. The bigger lesson here is while the Jewish community is talking about the end times and the Christian community is talking about the end times, how many khutbahs or how many discussions have Muslims heard of the end times? The reason we're not talking about the end times is because we've become so enamored with dunya, so enamored with our life in this world that we are failing to see, like those who see that don't hold so much importance to this world. They see the problems with AI. Muslims don't see a problem with AI. They see the problems with the way the world is headed into a dead end. But the Muslims think that we're headed into progress. Muslims have stopped talking about Dajjal and the Dajjalic system. Forget about talking about Dajjal. We're not even talking about the Pharaonic system. We're not even talking about the fact that we're colonized. We think we're free because we've come to the Western countries, or somehow because cable TV of some sort has reached our houses. We think we're free. We think we have liberty. While the Jewish community is willing to sacrifice for their religion and their cause more than the Muslims, and the Christians are willing to sacrifice more for their religion. And you see how the Jewish people respect their ulama. The Muslims see their ulama as backwards. And sometimes it's true. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this, look at how rabbi that they consider their Messiah, that they consider their salvation, how they're respecting him. These people are willing to sacrifice and accept. They accept the Christians or the Jews. Some of them accept that we're in the end of times. But yet Muslims don't want to talk about end of times. They want this dunya to extend and extend and extend and continue. The most basic thing for every Muslim to know in this last phase of history is that we are in the end of time. And the others are preparing for it. There are Jews who know the truth because they studied their Torah, or they studied their Bible, the Christians. They know the truth, and they know the signs of the true Messiah. But over here is also a challenge, as I will share with you.
Have Jews found the Messiah? I know what you're talking about because I've also seen these videos because a bunch of people like to tag me in them. Orthodox Jews believe in the concept of Messiah, or we say Mashiach. And no, we do not believe that he has come yet. There is very strict criteria of what will happen to change the world when he arrives, and it is going to be blatantly obvious for everybody. There will be not a question of a doubt between any Jews or non-Jews. Everybody will know when his arrival has come. Some of these changes will be world peace. There will also be a resurrection of the dead. So people that are no longer with us will come back to life. And we also believe that the third temple will be built.
This is very important. The Jews have yet to build the third temple, and that means an all-out war with the Muslim world. And by the way, the temple is not, the real location of the temple is not where Al-Aqsa Masjid is. This needs to be very clearly understood by Muslims. And even Muslims have propagated this, because the Jews, they pointed to Al-Aqsa and said, this is where our Haykal Sulaymani was. And the Muslims said, yeah, probably this was. No, it was not. Allah said, وَدَمَّرْنَاهُ تَدْمِيرًا. We destroyed every brick of it. It's also in the Bible, every brick of it was destroyed. Josephus, the historian, when he went and looked at the city, he said there was not a single brick left. Where do you think they get the Wailing Wall from? That's from the fort and the fortress of the Romans that were ruling there at that time. It is not part of Haykal Sulaymani. Al-Aqsa is not part of Haykal Suleiman. And just as Umar bin Khattab did not pray in the church, fear of that they would take over it, how can Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam pray in Haykal Suleimani when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls it Masjid al-Aqsa? That this would become a masjid. It was a prophecy that this place would be a place where Muslims will pray, and Muslims will not pray like thieves over someone else's land. Just because a few magician rabbis said, oh, that is where the temple is. And the Muslims said, yeah, that's a sacred place. That's probably where it was. But no, it was not. Listening to this lady.
And we also believe that the third temple will be built by God, not man, and it will descend from the heavens.
The one who has written your rizq in this sky, the one who brings down the rain, the one who gives you rizq, we need to turn to him and pray to him and come to the realization that me and you live in a world where we can die in a split second from a nuclear explosion. And one of the reasons people want the Messiah so bad, whether they be Christian, Muslims, Jews, or others, people want salvation so bad because they know that we messed up in the world. We've ruined everything. This is not sustainable what we have. The way the world is going with its level of depression and divorce rates and suicide rates and rape rates and all other types of rates, that while we have more technology and everything is faster, we've actually become less and less human beings. And we're dying at a collective level for someone to come and save us.